Hi, this is Jack from Alpha Charts with a stocks to watch video. Today is May 8th, 2022. Happy Mother's Day today to everybody. Before we get started, this video is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations to buy, sell, or hold any stock or security. And I may hold positions in some of the equities mentioned. Know your time frame and risk tolerance. Also, if you like these videos, don't forget, like and subscribe. I really appreciate that. It helps me out, keeps me doing these. So thank you so much. All right. So stocks to watch. SPX, as everyone I'm sure knows, has this gigantic topping pattern. We've talked about this for a long time now. It's sitting on this kind of trend line right here, price I'm talking about, and looks very, very tenuous where it's at. That being said, there is one sector that I think is outstanding right now, and it is still going to be the energy sector. Is it a crowded trade? Yeah, it's a crowded trade. But if you look at it, we're starting to get above this important area, and it looks like it wants to move higher. So as long as price is trending higher, why not be involved? Okay, if it turns on us, that's what stops are for. So within XLE, I have 3, 6, 9, 10 names. 10 names that I think look pretty darn good. They're either ready or close to ready. And then at the end, I'm going to go over once again what a bottom could potentially look like. Okay, but let's start with this first. First one is Valaris, VAL. And you see it kind of broke out of this area, had this kind of outside day right here on Friday, but a much lower volume and just tons of accumulation happening throughout this entire base, right? Tons and tons of accumulation, gigantic move on the breakout after earnings, right? There's earnings right there. There's a day after earnings. And I don't know if earnings may have been after the close. I don't know. Either way, good looking name right here. Again, tons of accumulation in that name. DVN, Devon Energy, again, kind of broke out and is moving higher. Again, some of these names are a little bit extended. Like this one could be a little bit extended. Maybe it needs a little bit of a pullback for better risk management entry. But with that being said, is going up and to the right, and very few names are doing that. And so this one looks pretty good. EOG Resources, this name, you see it goes back, wants to break out, moving higher, hasn't quite broken out yet, but I think it's getting really darn close. Had earnings already, nice move after earnings, 7%, and looks like it wants higher. That's EOG. So nice looking name there. HES. Again, moved quite a bit on Friday, 7%, but nice accumulation you see within the recent price action. And it looks like it wants to move higher. So why not, right? Again, does it need to pull back a little bit? Maybe, or move sideways, or have an inside day or two, let the moving averages catch up. Maybe, we'll see. But a name to watch. Oxy, Uncle Warren bought more, so that's always good news. We have earnings coming up. It based here, had a giant move. Again, these arrows, by the way, is where Berkshire did some of their first purchases, right? And you see the impact of what they, of them buying, and then with the volume signature, right? So this is the volume signature of them buying, and this is the price movement of them buying, and then it went sideways, and then they just announced they bought more, and you see again a lot of nice accumulation. Just accumulation everywhere in this name. So that this one looks pretty good. This is actually the only stock I currently own right now. Full disclosure. PXD. Ripped higher, broke out, great volume. Yeah, maybe needs to rest here a little bit. It's a little bit extended. So maybe comes back and retest or move sideways. But overall looks fantastic. All these oil and gas names are doing very well in earnings, as opposed to like technology, which is doing very poorly on earnings overall. So just earnings doesn't bother me, because we're seeing a trend here that earnings, they tend to do reasonably well. So it's PXD, Pioneer Natural Resource. Again, great, good looking name there, breaking out. XOM, ExxonMobil, the big boy, right? Had this base, broke out, and it's kind of moved sideways. Inside day on Friday, letting the moving averages catch up. So you have the outside day, then you have the inside day. Yeah, that looks pretty darn good. I like how it's just kind of moving sideways for 3 days, right? So we'll see what happens. But again, nice place to manage risk, right? You do against this 88 level. If you want to be a little, a little bit more, you could do maybe against, 86 or so. But good looking name right here. And again, just moving sideways, consolidating its gains. MPC, that's Marathon Petroleum. Again, just lots of little subtle accumulation all within here. Looks really good. Had earnings out of the way, moved higher. And so love to see that. Nice little move on Friday, how it tried to push down and buyers stepped up. Love to see that. So MPC. Next up is VLO, Valero. Again, going out at, I don't think it was all-time highs. Was it all-time highs? Yeah, looks like all-time highs. Okay, so Valero at all-time highs. I went to the weekly. Let's go back to the daily. Actually, I'll stay on the weekly for a second. Look at just the weekly volume signatures happening going on in this name, right? A big week, 15.88%, 16%, 8% the week prior. Great volume. People are diving into this name. You can see the volume accumulation all in this chart. And now it's going out at all-time highs. Good looking name. If you find a good entry on this one, it looks really nice. That's VLO. And my last one in this grouping is KMI, Kinder Morgan. Overall, it's got this kind of consolidation-ish area. Maybe a breakout here. It looks like a false breakout, came back, retested. If we go break back above this area, that could be interesting. You know what? Not my favorite looking name, to be honest with you. I'm going to just scratch it off the list. Forget I even said Kinder Morgan. I think there's better looking names out there. And in this market, you got to pick up the best of the best. So not that name. All right. But let's talk about what a bottom could look like, because I think that's really important for the general market. And it didn't say the bottom, it's a bottom, right? And again, because we can't really see out, well, we can't see out past today, but we can make areas that confluence and that could be important altogether, right? So let's look at it. Let's start with the indexes. So on the SPX, I think that this head and shoulders top, which is not a regular head and shoulders top, because there's not really a great well-defined neckline, right? Maybe you have a slanted neckline, but not a very well-defined neckline. With that being said, if we take a measured move from here to this particular neckline, it's roughly 11%. And then if we go from this particular neckline to the VWAP, it's roughly, 10.5%, pretty darn close to a measured move and the VWAP from the COVID low. As you can see, it's attached to the COVID low. So with all that being said, that's a spot that could be very interesting if and when price gets there, okay? So that's one spot I'm watching, SPX. The VWAP 3840-ish is where it's at right now. On the Qs, so the Qs have, this type of topping pattern, whatever you want to call this, going on there, and they are just screaming lower. That's the VWAP from COVID lows. They just didn't care about that at all, ripped right through it. And I think that potentially this 295 to 300 level could be important, because it was back in the, I'm pointing, you guys can't see me, but it was back over here, right? That could be important. That's only 4% lower, or potentially there's a gap to be filled right here, and there's about 10% to that gap. So I'm calling it 280 to 300-ish, anywhere in this range, basically. That could be an area where support potentially could be found. Buyers could be found in there. Again, that's roughly anywhere from 5 to 10% lower. Okay. So again, another, SPX was, again, a lower level from where we're at. QQQ, a lower level from where we are at. On the IWM, I've been watching this 5-wave move into potential support, this area, right? Just like that. And so if we take how much lower could we go into the support area, it's 7%. There is a gap right below it. Who knows if we fill it or not, but if we do, it's about 9% or so from where we're at. Again, so we're seeing a confluence of between 5 and 10% lower on a lot of these indexes. Again, an undercut here and then a rally, that's a possibility, or maybe even just into support. That's on the IWM. Now, IWO, which is a small cap growth. Okay, so it takes the small caps, pulls out the growthy small cap, and what does it look like? Well, this is actually at the area that should or could potentially offer some support. So what would I like to see? I would like to see IWO, which is a riskier, a measure of potential risk on. I would love to see IWO start to lead its way out of here, right? So it has that 5-wave move, just like the IWM, which is what we would expect. But now I would love to see what happens if it starts to lead higher. That is the first test. Is it the most important one? No, it's not. But it'd be really interesting to see if that actually happens. So definitely, and that could happen potentially this week. So I'll be watching for that. Some other things to look for. I think the VIX, and let's just go to a line chart and get rid of the moving averages on this part of this video because we really don't need it. And there's your not. All right, perfect. VIX. I think the VIX above 38, which is, above this area-ish, right? This area-ish, to potentially mark a bottom, right? So a spike in volatility. Put call ratio. I want to see that, in this 1.4 or above level. In the past, it's marked some really important bottoms. And I think 1.4-ish shows an extreme move. And that's what I'm looking for, an extreme move to the bearish side to potentially mark a bottom. So that's what I'm looking for on the put call ratio, equity only. Percent of stocks above the 50-day moving average. I want to see a washout in breadth of below 10%. I think below 10% is a really important level. Again, it shows an extreme move all the way in one direction. And that would be very bullish, at least for a counter trend, a strong counter trend, if not for a potential permanent bottom. Well, we won't know until after the fact, of course. And the last thing I'm looking for is, actually, no, let me just do it this way. Stop that. There we go. Bitcoin. There we go. Here's Bitcoin. So Bitcoin broke down the last few days out of this kind of consolidation area, and now it's kind of heading towards this VWAP from the COVID lows. Again, seems to be an important VWAP until it's not, but there you go. There's your COVID lows. And so let's just look at this a little bit closer. So this 32,700 or so, that's where the VWAP's at. So I think it potentially can get there. That's about 5.75% lower. That could get there by the end of the weekend, right? And then this 30,000 level. That's a must hold for Bitcoin. If it doesn't hold 30,000, it can drop to 20,000. But I think that these are levels that people are watching. Again, this VWAP level being the first one. And again, if you really start thinking about it, even though it's such a volatile asset, that's 5% there. That's around 15% there. It's kind of in line with everything else we've been watching. So the next, I think 5 to 10% in most markets, Bitcoin being a little bit more volatile, could potentially go down to 15%. I think that is setting up to what the indexes may show, get everyone, if it does it quickly, it may get everyone bearish all at the same time, right? And that's what we want, the extreme move into the bearish side of the market. That would be very, very bullish. And then if IWO starts to show a divergence to that bearish move down, that may be a very bullish sign, okay, as things are coming into that supportish area. All right, that's what I got for you. Stocks to watch. I gave you nine good names, I think, that are really moving well, working well. Is energy a crowded trade? Absolutely. Is it still working so far? The answer is yes. Might as well, participate in what's working. Then I also gave you what I'm personally looking for a bottom in the market. Doesn't mean it's going to be the bottom, but it's going to be potential a bottom in the market. So there you go. Hope you guys liked it. And again, if you did like it, leave me a comment below. Tell me if there's something that you're watching that I missed. And and again, like and subscribe. Find me on Twitter, AlphaCharts365. I'm there all the time, posting charts and what I think. And again, appreciate that. Happy Mother's Day. Hope you all have a great day. Thanks. Bye.